The last 24 hours of XXXTentacion's life. He was dead before the ambulance arrived. That much is certain. What is not certain, what has never been fully explained, is everything that happened in the 18 hours before Yasse Onfroy walked into that motorcycle dealership and never walked out. Most people think they know this story. They don't. The detail that changes everything has been sitting in surveillance footage, court documents, and witness statements for years. And the full picture has never been assembled in one place. Until now. June 18, 2018. Deerfield Beach, Florida. The temperature outside was 89 degrees. It was a Monday. XXXTentacion, born Yasse Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy on January 23, 1998, had spent the morning at his home in Parkland. He was 20 years old. He had a net worth that had grown from nothing to an estimated $5 million in under 3 years. His debut album, 17, had gone platinum. His follow-up had debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. He had over 10 million monthly Spotify listeners. He had a child on the way, a son he would never meet. He also had 17 criminal charges pending against him. A trial was scheduled. His freedom was not guaranteed. But on the morning of June 18, none of that seemed to be what was on his mind. What was on his mind was his music, his fans, and a very specific list of things he wanted to do that day. According to people close to him, X had been working through an evolving project in the weeks before his death. Not just music but something larger. He had spoken openly on Instagram Live about wanting to change. About guilt. About becoming someone different. On June 17, the night before he died, he posted a cryptic message. He wrote that if he died, he hoped people would remember not the worst things he did but the last things. He posted it at 11:42 p.m. 17 hours later, he was gone. The morning of June 18 began quietly. X was seen at his home. He made calls. He had a meeting scheduled. What that meeting was about, and who called it, has never been fully disclosed. What we know is that by early afternoon he was moving. Around 3 p.m. he was photographed at a Chase Bank branch in Deerfield Beach. He withdrew $50,000 in cash. $50,000 in cash. On a Monday afternoon. Law enforcement later confirmed this. The cash was never recovered. This is where the story starts to fracture. Some accounts say the money was intended as a charitable donation. X had been talking publicly about funding youth programs in his neighborhood. Others say the withdrawal was connected to a business arrangement, possibly related to his music operation or a pending deal. His team has never issued a clear statement about the purpose of that withdrawal. The money is simply gone. And X was dead within 2 hours of taking it out. At approximately 3:40 p.m., X arrived at Riva Motorsports, a luxury motorcycle dealership on Federal Highway in Deerfield Beach. He had been there before. He was not a stranger to the staff. He was looking at bikes, specifically a blue BMW motorcycle that he had shown interest in previously. Surveillance cameras captured him inside the store. He was calm. He was smiling. He was wearing a red Louis Vuitton jacket. At some point between 3:50 and 4 p.m., 2 men entered the dealership. They were armed. According to witnesses, they approached X directly. This was not a random robbery. This was targeted. One of the men pointed a weapon at X and demanded the Louis Vuitton bag he was carrying. XXXTentacion was shot once in the neck. He was pronounced dead at Broward Health North Hospital at 5:30 p.m. He was 20 years old. Within hours, the internet erupted. Rumors spread faster than facts. Was this retaliation? Was it connected to the money? Was it a hit dressed up to look like a robbery? 4 individuals were eventually charged in connection with the murder. 3 were convicted. The 4th, a man named Robert Allen, accepted a plea deal. The motive, according to prosecutors, was robbery. The $50,000 withdrawn that afternoon was the prize. But here is what the robbery theory does not cleanly explain. CCTV footage from the area showed a dark SUV that had been circling the block near Riva Motorsports for nearly 40 minutes before the shooting. 40 minutes. That is not a crime of opportunity. That is surveillance. That is planning. The prosecution acknowledged the men had followed X to the location. Which means someone knew where he was going. Which means someone knew his schedule. Oh. X had not publicly announced his plans that day. He had no set itinerary posted anywhere. His movements on June 18th were reconstructed afterward, pieced together from phone records, bank logs, and witness accounts. Yet somehow 2 armed men were waiting in the right place at the right time. His inner circle. His location sharing. His phone. Any of these could explain the coordination. None of them have been definitively accounted for in the public record. Then there is the matter of what was on his phone. When law enforcement processed the crime scene, they noted X's phone was present. What was on that phone, what conversations, what contacts, what recent activity, has never been made public. In most high-profile murder investigations, the victim's phone records form a central pillar of the case. In this case, those records were used to build the prosecution's timeline. But the full contents have not been released. His final texts. His final calls. The last thing he searched. All of it sealed. In the weeks before his death, X had been in contact with multiple industry figures about his future. He had spoken about leaving his label. He had spoken about owning his masters. He had spoken about a new direction, not just musically but financially, structurally. He wanted control. In an industry where control is the rarest currency of all, that kind of ambition makes enemies. Is that relevant? Maybe. Maybe not. The convicted men were not music industry insiders. They were, by all accounts, local criminals motivated by cash. The prosecution's case was straightforward. Robbery. A target of opportunity made into a planned one because X's wealth was known, his movements were trackable, and he was carrying $50,000. That is the official answer. But the questions that remain are not about guilt. The 4 men who killed Yassé Onfroy have been identified. The act itself is not a mystery. The mystery is the 24 hours that led to that moment. The withdrawal. The schedule. The coordinated surveillance of his location. The sealed phone records. The charitable donation that never arrived anywhere. The son who was born 3 months after his father was murdered, a boy named Gekyum, a name X had invented himself from a phrase meaning, a different universe of thought. Gekyum Onfroy was born on January 26, 2019. He will grow up knowing his father only through music, through videos, through the stories other people tell. On the night of June 17, 2018, less than 24 hours before he died, XXX Tentacion went live on Instagram. He was in a room alone. He spoke quietly. He said he had been thinking about his impact. He said he wanted people to feel something real. He said he was afraid of dying before he finished what he was trying to build. He logged off at 11:52 p.m. He was dead by 5:30 the following afternoon. The $50,000 was never found. His phone records remained sealed. The dark SUV circled for 40 minutes before anyone pulled a trigger. And somewhere between a bank withdrawal and a motorcycle dealership, something happened that the official timeline still does not fully account for. Most people think they know what happened to XXX Tentacion. The question that no one has answered, the question that may never be answered, is who knew it was going to happen before it did.